You're doing good.
Okay, I picked up a little trivia here from the Wikipedia. First of all, this is the sequel that outdid its prequel, the Mad Max. Max Rockatansky, whose family was murdered by some of these, roving gangs. So he goes out and revenges all of that, kills everybody that killed his wife and everything. So the confusion on the title is, in the United States, it was released as The Road Warrior with no mention of Mad Max at all. And then Mad Max came along as the outstanding prequel to Road Warrior. So Road Warrior outdid its original thing. And it was originally more bloody and violent, but they had to cut it down to get an M rating on the Australian censors. And then even when it came over here to the US, they had to shorten the scene where he's pulling the arrow, where Wes is pulling the arrow out of his arm. And also when they're removing the metal boomerang from the Golden Boy's head. In case you wonder, the Feral Boy was able to catch the razor sharp boomerang because he wore a male glove. So that's why he was able to catch it, and it sliced off the other guy's fingers. It did really well in Australia. In fact, I think it's still the highest grossing Australian film ever. It made a bunch of money around the world. I don't care. So what else? Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 93% approval rating. One of the best of 1981. Ebert gave it 3.5 out of 4. Vincent Canby of the New York Times called it the sadomasochistic comic book come to life. But he was also, Miller was criticized for his attempts to tap into the universal hero theme, as it made the movie joyless, sappy, and sentimental. At the 24th Australian Film Institute Award, it won Best Direction, Best Editing, Best Production Design, Best Sound, and Best Costume Design. It was nominated for Best Cinematography and Original Movie Score, but it wasn't even nominated for Best Picture. So the gritty junkyard society of the future look is almost taken for granted now in modern sci-fi action movies. The dystopian, apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic themes and images are just pretty much what everybody does these days for dystopian stuff. So I was thinking that there's going to be a wide variety of likes and dislikes on this. About a third will hate it, about a third will be neutral, and about a third will like it. So let's see what you guys think.
I have a major question for the group. The question's for Terry, but from the group, I think the bloodshed doesn't bother you in this one?
It's more comic book than anything. And I know, it seems hypocritical. I don't know what the difference is. I really don't. I can't figure it out in myself. I mean, you guys can try to analyze it, but I don't know what it is.
Well, when the guy tried to catch the boomerang and it took his fingers off, I mean, everybody laughed. Even his own guys. They thought it was hilarious.
But it wasn't a lovable character either.
Right.
I'll go first or second or whatever. First of all, that is kind of humorous that you would say that, Mike, because Terry, I've heard your critique of other films with the violence. one of the ones I missed that you picked was Clockwork Orange, one of my favorite movies of all time. This movie is one of my favorite. This is a movie that if I'm channel surfing and it's on, I'll probably just hang and watch the rest of it. I like this movie that much. Um, I like movies with this kind of theme, the post-apocalyptic dystopian presentation of the future. I love this kind of stuff. Um, I don't know if it was really, if the violence was comic per se. It wasn't gratuitous, I didn't think. I suspect in the future, I don't know when this movie was allegedly taking place, but it could very well be this bad. It kind of reminded me a little bit of A Boy and His Dog. If anybody saw A Boy and His Dog with Don Johnson, but they painted kind of a grim picture of the future there as well. But I love the movie, so I'm one of the third. Your percentage might be a little low, but I'm at least one of the third that likes the movie. I'm glad you picked it.
No, I'm in the same boat as Pete. I liked it a lot. I liked it. I don't know if I saw it when it came out. I don't think I saw it in a theater, but I saw it a long time ago, and I liked it ever since. And I didn't like some of the ones that came after. I liked Mad Max. I wasn't crazy about Thunderdome, and the fourth one, Fury Road or whatever.
Fury Road.
It wasn't very good either, I don't think. But yeah, I thought, especially like the car has some cool aspects to it. It was if you're a car guy, kind of I like the self-exploding thing if you messed with his car. That was kind of cool. But he had a knife under there. It was all, I thought, pretty cool.
The villains in this movie are just phenomenal. I mean, they really are like that. But I like the picture behind me is Mel Gibson and the guy that played that guy playing cards when they were not shooting. I don't know if you can see or not, but they're playing cards, right?
Well, isn't he like some UFC guy?
Is he? Yeah, could be.
Couldn't they afford some leather for his butt?
No, that's all part of it, man. You got to have your buttocks hanging out.
I don't know. In the sun like that?
Part of the fear.
You see, like in the future, leather was such a precious commodity. They could not afford to cover the buttocks.
Oh, there you go. It was the
some critic in there called Wes the best movie henchman of all times. I forget what critique it was, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever been around in San Francisco, but back in the 80s, there were a lot of guys walking around with their butt cheeks hanging out of their leather stuff. So anyway, it's a real thing. At least it was.
I wanted to bring up that I think there's a big Lebowski quote that comes from this movie. Did anybody catch that? When they're talking about the main villain is named Humongous, right?
Yeah,
the Lord Humongous.
Lord Humongous. The Ayatollah of rock and rolla. Okay.
Right.
In Big Lebowski, there's a scene where Lebowski is talking to Ben Gazzara, who plays Jackie Treehorn, the porn producer, and he comes up with this line where, how are you going to keep them down on the farm once they've seen Carl Hungus? But that came out in '99, and this was in '81, so I think they stole that line. I guess nobody else noticed that.
Wasn't this really kind of like a Western?
It is it's based on that same kind of theme that runs through Westerns, the lonely individual that's,
I mean, Humongous is
family.
Cochise and
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the big shoot 'em up at the end looked right out of Stagecoach or any classic Western.
mm-hmm. Fort
Was
was
anybody
surrounded.
Was anybody surprised that it was just sand in the truck?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I didn't remember it.
I was surprised. I didn't remember it either.
Yeah, that was
they
the
put
first
it
time
in-
I saw it.
They put it in barrels and put it in the school bus that went in the other direction or something like that. Put it in the other vehicles.
I was surprised when the gas truck, him towing the gas truck was when it flipped over. I thought, well, there's no way. And then I realized it was the end of the movie. I was ready for some more action.
Yeah, it was only what, 96 minutes, 93 minutes long.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was plenty.
For that, we thank you. We actually got a short week.
Yeah, there you go. I really like the gyro pilot,
Mhm.
Yeah.
gyrocopter character. He was funny. That's low. He had no shot. He had no shells in the shotgun. That's dishonest. That's low.
Didn't they say he ends up being the leader of the North?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What's the name they gave him? The Gyro King or something, leader of the North. Too bad they didn't play on that in future movies. I don't know. I don't know what the plot was for Thunderdome.
Was that the one with Tina Turner? Is that
Yeah.
the one she was in?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that was the plot right there.
I know. And was it the first time that they really even put in anybody that you'd ever heard of in the movie? Yeah. Tina Turner. I hadn't heard of any of these actors before, including Mel Gibson, I guess.
What? You never heard of Mel Gibson?
Well,
Maybe
yeah.
that's a lady thing.
back then, I mean, I hadn't heard of him.
Mm.
I did see the first one, Mad Max, so maybe I was aware of him for this one. But it was only 2 years later, right?
Well, Mad Max wasn't released very much in the US before this. That's why they didn't call it Mad Max 2. It's because nobody'd seen Mad Max in the US till after it came out.
Well, here, I'll jump in. I didn't care for this at all. I'm not into car movies. Not particularly interested in this level of sci-fi dystopia. I thought there was an awful lot of gratuitous violence. It normally doesn't bother me at all. I just it's not the kind of movie to kind of reverse what Pete said. If this or Mad Max or any of the other two are on the tube and I roll through it, I keep rolling. I mean, I don't. This is just not my cup of tea by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I saw it. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever seen it start to finish. But it's not my cup of tea. I didn't care for it. Didn't like the story. Didn't find any of the characters very likable at all, including Max, and just wasn't there for me on this one.
Well, I'll default to my. Oh, go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to agree with Mike Mahoney. When I started watching this, the word flummoxed, I just totally could not understand. I don't understand this type of movie. I don't like them. The post-apocalyptic, cobbled together vehicles with the rogue men running amok through the countryside, killing each other. I don't get it. But the two best actors were the feral boy and the dog. And that's all I got to say about that.
Well, I like. There were three things about it I liked: the feral boy, the dog, and the soundtrack. And the soundtrack matched the action. But I'll default to my three questions I always ask myself: is what was the producer or the movie maker trying to accomplish? And if he was trying to make me uncomfortable with what a dystopian future looks like, mission accomplished. Did he accomplish it? And was it worth my time and money? I wish I had those 2 hours back. It's not a movie that appeals to me at all, but I tried to find things in it that I thought were well done. And the soundtrack, if you separate well, not necessarily separated, but if you listen to the soundtrack and match it to the action, it was a brilliant match of those two things. As much as I dislike the movie, the soundtrack is brilliant. If you just listen to the soundtrack, I hope the horn section got paid by the note, because it was just a constant onslaught of horns and horns and more horns, and so I think the soundtrack got some awards. After I watched the movie, I read to see what got noticed, and there were two things. One was it was lauded for its soundtrack and lauded for its lack of dialogue, which I thought was first time I'd ever heard of a movie being honored for the lack of script. But
I think they said Gibson had less than 200 words in this.
yeah, and I also get I'm a punching bag for characters that evolve, and he does evolve. He comes from from one place, it ends up in another place, and that's the arc of the character development is worthy. But as a whole, I would have rather seen Barbie, I think.
All right, so we're at 3-4 and 3 against me.
So we got
me is one of the 3-4. So now it's down to Mike, and Bill about where they are going to fall. Are they going to be for, against, or neutral?
Well, I will take the one of the neutral spots for sure. I know.
That is so Bill of you.
Yeah.
Come on, Bill.
I know that when I was younger, I loved. I loved the movie. It's like, oh boy, Mad Max. Yeah, bring it on. But I mean, now the older Bill, it's not. There wasn't a lot of good directorship or film editing or anything like that. Not a lot of meaning to the movie. So I will take one of those neutral slots.
Bill, didn't we watch this movie in my living room on my Magnavox 46-inch rear projection television set?
Is that all that TV was? It was just a 46?
It was just 46-inch, but back in the day, that was the thing.
Oh, no kidding. I mean,
it weighed 9,000 pounds too.
Pete got this. Pete had one of the very first big screen TVs that I ever saw, and it weighed, what did it weigh, like 400 pounds or something?
Took 5 guys
to move. Look at this, and we did watch a lot of movies like this, and
I'm quite confident this was one of them.
Yeah, and I'm sure we both loved it. Knowing what we were both up to at the time, So, but right now, where I stand right now, I'm a neutral on the show. I watched it because of Movie Club, and probably be the last time I see it.
I've tried to watch Chris react to two guys arguing about how big their TVs were.
All right, other mics. Yay or nay?
I gotta believe I'm neutral as well. I mean, I thought the action was great, but the story went nowhere. I wish there would. The only relationship that meant anything to me was Gyrocopter Man. He's the only one who developed a relationship.
I've got a question before I toss in my opinion. The backstory on Gibson is that he was a highway patrolman in Australia, and he had this dog, and he cruised and did what? I don't know. I mean, how am I supposed to know that? Was that in the first one that we never got to watch?
Yeah.
I think so.
So how do we know that?
The
Jerry?
first one, Mad Max, explains a lot of it.
Really? It does? Okay. I'm gonna say neutral then, but I'd like to remind Gary that he recommended Mad Max Fury Road, if I'm correct, and I thought that was a great movie for what it was.
Yeah, and I recommended it because I did some research on, like the 20 greatest or biggest box office, and there are all these gaps in my movie history, and I thought, well, we'll pick that. It's not because I thought it was an artistic masterpiece. It's because it was a mystery to me. and maybe I'm biased, but I thought the one that we watched earlier was better produced and had more of a complete story to it. But I may, I may be biased. What was the one? Was that Fury Road or?
Yeah,
what
Mad
was
Max Fury Road. That had,
Okay.
I forget her name. but
Charlize Theron.
there you go, Charlize Theron.
Really?
And yeah, and I liked that. I thought that was a good movie, and I had not seen it before. I had not seen this one ever. So these are the only two that I've seen. So if I was going to say neutral, I enjoyed it for what it was, which is, a action movie with Mel Gibson in it or whatever. That had some decent elements, but what I like Mahoney's. If this was on the TV, I'd just keep rolling. I don't know. I might be there, but I cut the cord on cable, so I don't thumb through cable. I don't thumb through 500, 900 channels or whatever. I pick what I'm going to watch and I watch it. So
Well,
I'll say that
that
I liked it. I changed my mind. We've got some guys that said they
Yay.
don't know. I'll say that I liked it for whatever it's worth, because I did. I enjoyed it, and so much so that I looked up the humongous quote from Big Lebowski. So, I thought it had some good parts. I did not like the dog getting killed, which I'm glad didn't happen on camera. But
Bill has suggested that he liked it back when he was over at my house, but not so much today. So my question to the group is, can you change about your impression or feeling about a movie over time?
Sure.
Well, he also said it had to do with weed.
Say that?
Possibly.
Drive. I wasn't driving.
You live next door, for crying out loud.
Mad Max Fury Weed. That'll be the next episode.
Okay, what was the question again, Pete?
Can you change your feeling about a movie over time? 20, 30 years? Can you like a movie or dislike a movie back in the day, and then 20 or 30 years hence, can your opinion about a movie change? Or your
Sure.
feelings about a movie?
I used to love The Big Year.
Well, I agree with you, Pete. I used to think that
My timing and joining this group way off, apparently.
I think that you can.
I used to think that Catch-22 was the best movie in the world, and it bombed at the box office. It got no awards. I thought Alan Arkin was fantastic in it as Yossarian. It was one of my favorite books at the time when it came out. And today, when I watch it, it doesn't hit at all.
Yeah, it's a pretty terrible movie now to watch, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if it's terrible, because I know it all, because I've watched it many times, and I saw it at the movie theater, I saw it on cable, that kind of stuff. I've read the book, I don't know, 5 or 6 times. Whenever I'm bored and want to do something different, I'll go back and read that book.
The book's
really
much
enjoyed it.
better.
Yeah.
But
I got-
Pete, I think you can change how you feel about movies, and age has everything to do with it.
Age, life experience,
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Well, there's also production values have gone up. I mean, they made that thing in 81. I mean, look at all the technology we have. How many years is that now? 40 some years, and production quality goes up. I don't like it as much now as I used to. I mean, I still like it, but looking through the eyes of us critics here, maybe it's not so as fantastic as I thought it used to be. Still, the whole aesthetic is still alive and well. I mean, there's cult clubs. If you've ever seen or been around any Burning Man stuff or Burning Man decompression parties, which I have, that aesthetic is still, kind of out there and appreciated. It's like steampunk, that sort of thing. I actually went so far as to collect the things all the accoutrements to have a Mad Max inspired Halloween costume, but I've never gotten to wear it because I've never been where there was a Halloween party for me to go to. But I could wear it.
You're
But
not
I've
talking
been
about,
carrying that stuff around with me for 5 years now.
You
you're
should
not
have
talking
worn it
about, you're
tonight.
not talking about the buttless chaps, are you?
Well, I hadn't thought about that part, but I might have to do that if I ever get to it, you know.
Hey, Pete, I'm sorry I was late to the start. What made you recommend this? What was your motivation for having us watch this? Is there?
It's Terry's movie.
It's Terry's movie.
I'm sorry. What did I say?
Pete.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at Terry. Sorry, Pete. Terry, what was your motivation for recommending? Why did you want us to see it?
Well, I don't know. It just kind of popped in my head. I didn't really think about it all that much, but I thought that I would get a wide variety of reactions from it, and that's why I said 3, 3, and 3. Which
Pretty close. It was almost.
yeah, I just wanted to see what the reactions would be, and you know, it is one of my, you know, it's I like it for the costume design. That's, you know, my main reason, and it's definitely an action film. It's not really a deep character study or anything like that. In fact, before you were here, there was one critic that called Miller's attempts to portray the universal hero as what? Sappy, sentimental, and something else. So I just, you know, just sort of throw it out there and see what you guys thought. And see what the reactions were.
I mean, if you talk about like dystopian things and you think of things like The Road,
Yeah.
I like that a lot better for the relationships. I mean, it starts out with a relationship, but it just seemed a more complete kind of film than this one, but it didn't have this kind of action nonstop.
I did like the wordplay. I mean, the idea of guzzling, and there's a couple other things in there that are very clever phrases that I thought somebody put some thought into some of these, you know, labels.
They're just Australians.
And what was Mel Gibson's name? His name meant something. I'm trying to remember what the character's name was, but that was
Mac Rockatansky.
Yeah.
Rockatansky is what it said.
mean,
No.
He was in the something police force, MPF or something like that. So,
wow. And
yeah, after watching The Road Warrior, I went back and watched Mad Max, and I was like, pretty much forgotten all of it, except that he gets his revenge.
they were all directed by the same director, right? George Miller. And I know, and that, what was it, Fury, whatever it is, they try to use a lot of the same characters, don't they, too? I mean, and not just Mad Max, but several characters carried over. I read a synopsis of it where they said, yeah, you know, like in Thunderdome. So I imagine these characters, they carry back into this one too.
Like Humongous and Wes.
I think so.
How many pieces in the sequence? I mean, the 4 movies, 5 movies, you know?
I think there's
There's 4.
I think it's 4.
but I
I
do
don't think Mel Gibson wasn't in the last one, though. I don't think.
Right, he was not.
Tom Hardy.
No.
Tom Hardy, yeah.
But I think I did see a preview for a 5th one.
I mean, upcoming.
Yeah.
Hey, some franchises never die. I mean, they make so much money that I'm sure there's going to be a Barbie 16 eventually. You know?
Well, I think it's George Miller's, you know, his baby, really. It's his only thing, I think. I mean, doesn't George Miller also do some horror movies or something like that?
Couldn't tell you.
I don't know. So does anybody think they'd ever be hungry enough to eat dog food?
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah, if necessary.
Well, I don't know if it's a horror movie, but he did Babe.
Really?
It's not a horror movie.
The same
That's
guy who
pretty
did Mad
strange.
Max directed Babe?
Yeah. Oh wait, no. He was the writer and the producer for
Oh,
Babe Pig in the City. He was the director, writer, and producer. He also did Happy Feet.
I didn't know Babe had a sequel.
oh yeah.
And Happy Feet is the animated penguin movie.
Wow, that's quite a range.
Uh-huh. And there is a fourth one, 2024, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Director, writer, producer, George Miller.
Who's
Where Babe
Furiosa?
gets his revenge.
Yeah, Babe. Introduced Babe.
Babe's got on a helmet with glasses.
I mean, that's about it. Just the Mad Maxes and the Babes. He did Lorenzo's Oil, which I think was a pretty good movie. I don't really remember it. Happy Feet too. That was pretty good.
He's probably not missing any meals.
Right. Oh, Happy Feet was that penguin animation.
Right.
Once they score, then Hollywood's willing to go with them on all kinds of stuff, It's kind of like you don't really make money in the theater business until you start playing it over and over and over again, and it travels around the country and all that sort of stuff. That's when it makes $1
He
billion.
directed the Witches of Eastwick.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I'm pretty
So
sure.
here's the question: Is this the movie that put Mel Gibson on our map, on our radar?
I think it was.
Too?
Yeah,
I
I think
think so, yeah.
And then he went on to do all of his other, The Patriot and
All the
I don't know
lethal
what,
weapons.
conspiracy
Yeah.
theory.
Lethal Weapon 16, that was my favorite.
What
Oh,
was
I
the-
like 15 and a half better.
That's a joke.
What's the one that he did with the sacrificial South American tribe?
Apocalypto.
Apocalypto.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Pete's first pick into the movie.
My first pick. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that was a Pete pick.
Oh yeah, great movie.
Everybody peaks sometime, don't they?
It's all downhill after that.
So can anybody think of what Mel's movie was after this that, an American made, where he got on, came up on other people's radar after.
Well, I know he did Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, but he wasn't in that one.
No,
You mean Pizza Jesus on a stick? Sorry.
are you talking about what Mel Gibson starred in?
Oh, here we go. Here's
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Bill's on the IMDb site. What is it, Bill?
well, you mean right after this? He was in so much stuff, really. But I mean, right after Mad Max 2, The Year of Living Dangerously. I mean, I consider Mel Gibson to be one of the great actor directors, but I know he's not as popular as he was, and he's done all that Lethal Weapon franchise and all that. But I mean, Braveheart and movies like that, and Apocalypso, those are, and the Passion of Christ. I mean, those are all epic movies in my book.
When did Braveheart come out? I bet that was not
Braveheart was
long.
probably his best.
Braveheart. Let's see.
Sounds like that's an 87.
95. 95. I'm
95.
looking at it too. 95.
Wow, I would have thought that was sooner.
I mean, I thought Braveheart was so good. I just thought it was one of the best movies ever.
My kids used to have that on a loop. It was always playing.
I think the first film I saw of him was probably The Year of Living Dangerously. I like that movie a lot.
Was that the one with Sigourney Weaver?
Yeah.
I think? Yeah, that was a good flick.
And that is shown as being the first movie he did after Mad
Right.
Max 2, if that's the question.
The Bounty was good too with Anthony Hopkins in 1984. 84, that was a good flick.
Oh yeah.
Was he in Moonstruck? Does anybody remember? No.
Didn't that launch his career?
He was, but they left him on the cutting room floor.
He was banned from the set from all of his.
That fifth
Person.
Mad Max movie, Mad Max meets the Bird Watchers. It's I saw some trailers for that. Yeah.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
I thought he was good in.
Oh, I know what it would be. It would be The Big Year of Living Dangerously. That would be it. I'm sorry.
That's
Bill,
good.
go ahead.
There's a sequel right there. Yeah.
Right. When you put those
How do you take the big year and add a little danger to it where they're killing each other off? You know.
Right.
It would be
You
like
keep 'em on
that movie we watched where they were in that house and they had different colored flares and
Oh yeah. That was a Mahoney pick. That was a Mahoney pick, as I recall.
Yeah.
they just translate that into Bird Watchers.
What was the name of that movie? I was actually trying to think of the name of that movie, Mahoney. What was that?
I do not remember.
So you're saying it was forgettable?
No, I thought it was. I thought it was a good movie at the time. I just don't remember.
It made a mark on me. It's good.
Did anybody ever watch Windfall?
What was it?
Is that the James Bond one?
No, that was
That's the Skyfall.
Something's falling. Okay.
I guess so.
What was Windfall?
Well, if I told you, they'd give it away. It's similar to Mahoney's movie where
Oh, okay.
things. It only includes 3 actors. I think it was probably made at the depths of the of COVID, where you couldn't do crowd scenes. So it's 3 people, maybe 4. And what was the movie where there was a guy driving a car through the entire movie, just from one side of town to the other? That was another COVID movie.
The
Oh
Tom,
yeah, that was
was that a Tom Hardy movie also?
yes. I can't remember the name of it, but that's the one where he's on the phone the whole time or whatever.
Yeah.
I believe I suggested that as a side pick.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of it, Pete?
I'll look it up because I can't remember the actor, but I remember the director of that movie. She's a comedian, believe it or not. And I saw Windfall. That was a good flick with Jesse Plemons and Jason Segel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where they're at the house.
Yeah.
Yes. They get robbed, and then things go bad from there.
Right. It's a Netflix show, isn't it?
It's a movie. It's not a series. It's a movie.
Right, but I think it's a Netflix movie.
Has anybody seen May, December?
Mm-mm.
Julianne Moore?
Not yet.
She kind of stepped in it, didn't she?
What she?
Oh, what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Oh, she was. She had some anti-Semitic words for the current October 7th issues in Israel.
Oh,
I didn't pick up on that.
I hear it's a Netflix release. I think it's a Netflix original, and it's supposed to be very good. I plan to watch that later tonight.
Do you, or do you plan on watching tonight's pick?
Not well. I don't know what tonight's pick is, Bill. Maybe.
Tonight's pick. It's so here's the deal. I was gonna do Mad Max. Give everybody the backstory, but a third of you hated Road Warrior, so maybe we could do an option. The other one I was thinking of was also a dystopian movie, Waterworld. Actually, it's kind of the same movie except on the water.
It's your,
Is that a movie?
Yeah, oh yeah.
yeah,
It's Kevin
With,
Costner stars in that.
yeah, that was his almost big black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that it made much money, but I kind of thought.
It was considered one of the biggest lost
Yeah.
movies of its time.
Money
Yeah.
loser?
Yes. And it was mostly
Yeah,
because
so,
everything was done on the
bad
water.
news.
I mean, that's Spielberg did that with Jaws, but he had to have a mechanical shark to do it. This one, they don't really have a mechanical shark to hold it up. But from what I
They
recall,
got bad guys on, what do they call those, ski-doos or?
right, there you go.
How
Yeah.
long is it? Because at my age, that matters. I'm trying to figure out, how
Well,
many
Mad
days do I
Max
have?
is an hour and a half. I'd have to look up Waterworld.
I think it's like 2.5.
Yeah, I think Waterworld's long.
Oh yeah, shit, it's almost 3 hours. So yeah, that
Who
would,
would recommend a 3-hour movie to this group? Jesus Christ.
well, I didn't even think of it until tonight when a third
You're
of the
good. You're
people
good,
hated
Jeff.
this one. So
I-
yeah, like I said,
I did
was-
it. I did it. I've done it before.
I've heard about it, but I've never seen it. So this will fill in a space in my movie history. Good for you.
Okay, Waterworld then.
All right.
Waterworld. And by the way, the movie about the dude driving in the car
Yeah.
was directed by Aisha Taylor. The comedian is called Axis.
Yeah.
That was the name of the movie.
Say it again.
Axis, AXIS.
Okay.
I thought that was brilliant based on the fact that it's one guy in a car and it goes through this whole thing with his family and just amazing.
Yeah, he's on the phone in the States with his agent, girlfriend, his relatives in Ireland. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're really not sure what happens at the end, but it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what happens.
We'll have to go watch it. Or at least fast forward to the end.
Another episode of Alzheimer's Theater.
That's why
I thought that was a good movie, but then I realized no. Anybody else for recommendations? Well, as the clock is getting towards the end here.
I watched the Holdovers last week. The Paul Giamatti.
the holdovers.
Chris, did you see that? Who was it?
Yeah. No.
Maybe it was Donna. That Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
At the theater, huh?
Yeah, we're members of a art theater, community theater here. And they get all sorts of offbeat stuff. But that's also where I saw Napoleon. And everybody that has seen Napoleon, the first thing they've said to me is, wow, it was dark. And not that the topic or the subject matter was dark. They just think it's a very low light movie. That's not the way it struck me, but that's the way other people have reacted to it, that it was dreary. So
like Lincoln dark.
yeah. Cloudy, lots
Yeah,
of shadows. Yeah.
Well, I saw Napoleon last week, and it's a dark movie, but it's a dark character in a way, and in some many ways, Napoleon's a dark character. Yeah,
Who's the director? Ridley Scott said something like a book about Napoleon is written once every 2 weeks. There's like 50,000 books about Napoleon. And who knows what the truth is. But I've heard that people in France are watching the movie and going, you got it all wrong.
Yeah.
But who the hell knows? You know, he probably, after Jesus Christ and George Washington, may have been the most written about person in history. And so everybody's got a take on him. Or maybe Winston Churchill. Maybe there are more books written about almost anybody but Winston Churchill.
And Lincoln. Boy, there's
Lincoln. Yeah, I was just going to say that, Lincoln.
a lot of Lincoln novels.
Napoleon seems smart enough to have his own publicist.
He's not getting any royalties for these, though.
I was kind of glad to see it though, because I don't recall very many ever seeing a movie about Napoleon, just specifically on that character, or even reading a book about him.
It does make you go back and try to fill in the gaps of your European history. Like, okay, there was the French Revolution, and there was the Reign of Terror, and then how did he end up in all these battles? It was like France was in war with everybody, or he just went looking for fights.
Yeah.
And won most of them.
I mean, I don't want to say what the final graphic was, but you saw that final graphic in the movie, right, Gary? I mean,
Oh yeah. Yeah, the body count for Napoleon is
Yeah. It's like in
Probably more
tens of
than-
millions, right? It's tens of millions, right?
Probably more than Kissinger.
That's right.
No, probably not.
It's going to be close. It'll be close.
Yeah.
I just want
Yeah,
to
Waterloo, the night after the Battle of Waterloo, 40,000 men were lying on the battlefield
Yeah.
at the end of Waterloo. So the greatest thing you had to fear then were the people that would come out and steal all your shit and kill you while you were laying there. People would come out and rob the soldiers,
Really?
slit their throats, take everything they had.
The local residents.
Yep. They didn't have like hospitals and, none of the shit that we have these days as far as taking care of people who were killed or wounded.
Who would bury all those people?
The townspeople. The townspeople that was a big health concern at Gettysburg too. Was there were 20,000 dead and dying soldiers at Gettysburg, and the town of Gettysburg was responsible for handling that, and they went to the state of Pennsylvania and said, "Hey, we need some help here," and so they got the state involved. But yeah, largely, local folks were involved. Got hung. I got nailed for burying and taking care of the wounded that they didn't haul off.
Have you been to
Well,
Gettysburg, Tony?
They didn't
Yeah.
have time in the Napoleon movie
Twice.
to
It's
go into
not
this.
that large of an area either for that number of casualties. Of course, most of them happened in Pickett's charge on the 4th. But
So what they didn't have time to go into in Napoleon was that 2 days before Waterloo, the British Army had a contingent that was parallel with the Prussian army, which Napoleon attacked the Prussians 2 days before Waterloo, like 80,000 versus 120,000, and beat them, and they started retreating. And he sent one of his corps commanders after the Prussians, telling them to stay on their ass so they couldn't come over and help the British in a couple of days. But that commander didn't harass the Prussians enough, and so that's why they were able to come in and basically in Napoleon's right rear. I mean, way back behind the lines, they were coming in. And so that's basically why, one of the main reasons he lost the battle, because of the Prussians coming in. Hard to say whether he would have been able to break through the British or not. So, yeah, there was a battle 2 days before Waterloo where he defeated the Prussians. So.
I saw a art house movie this week too called The Eight Mountains. Anybody heard of that? It's a book I read. It was a good movie. Art house for sure. Coming of age, Italy. But a good movie. I don't
There's a
really
movie movie coming out this week called Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage, where he starts appearing in everybody's dreams. It's supposed to
I'm
be
excited. I'm excited about the umpteenth version of Willy Wonka that's coming out again in a week or so.
There you go.
Just kidding. It's like, really? Again? Every year we have a new Willy Wonka thing.
So I think the one Pete suggested, Boy and His Dog, I would like to throw that in as an extra this week because it's really pretty good.
What is it?
A Boy and His Dog.
Boy and
Don
His,
Johnson.
it's another
Dog
dystopian thing, but you know, as long as we got all these dystopian
Jason
things,
Robards is in that too.
I'm thinking that was recommended before, but I don't know. I have watched it, but maybe you recommended that one, Pete. Have you ever recommended it before?
I don't think I have. I may have.
Well, that's one that I liked when I first watched it, but then I tried to watch it again and I couldn't take it.
you change.
Yeah.
You needed to be with Bill and I in my living room in front of my 46-inch Magnavox. You're gonna like it a lot more.
I still like the fact that they call the underground city Topeka, though. That's rich. I like that.
Well, you know, Don Johnson, he's a KU guy.
Was he?
He's from
Oh,
Crane.
okay.
He's from Crane, Missouri.
Yeah, he has a home.
Where the hell is that?
He has a home in Ledgestone,
40
Matson.
miles from here.
Okay, so Boy and His Dog, it was recommended August of 2022, and it was recommended by Bob.
Oh,
yeah. There we go. I thought I remembered that one.
Uh-huh.
In August of 2022.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That may have been his farewell to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the main pick, you know.
No, just date wise, that
Right.
getting right up there.
Let's
I
look
was
at
thinking I went to his funeral in August. So
could very well have been his last one. Let's look at
Right.
there. We also had Power of the Dog. We had Isle of Dog. We had Isle of Dog.
Isle of Dog, that was a Bob also.
Dog Day Afternoon.
But it hadn't been recommended yet, as far as I
Hasn't been
know.
recommended yet.
All dogs go to
Is that a
Christmas.
recommendation there, Terry?
What?
Is that a recommendation?
No, not really. Reservoir Dogs.
You ever see one called Straw Dogs with
yes, yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Dog Day Afternoon. Yeah. I smell dinner. I'm about to bail out here.
Hey Terry, that was a good pick. That was fun.
And the
Well,
Yays
well,
have
then,
Three
four
of us
squares.
think it was a horrible pick.
Well, it worked out just about how I thought. I mean,
Yeah, you pretty much called it.
Hey, the Yays had
Yeah,
it.
Mike
The
Sanders
Yays had
changed in his mind, made it took it away
right.
from an even 3-3-3. But
Wait till you
Not
see
what I expected.
Waterworld.
It was so.
well, I haven't I haven't watched Waterworld yet, but there were people I met in Hawaii that were extras on Waterworld. So I'm going to be looking out for Tim.
People,
Tim Head.
people you know.
You've just,
Is that where it was
you've just
filmed?
given me a great idea. I'm going to call myself an extra on Waterworld, and nobody will ever question it. Yeah, it's an extra on Waterworld. Nobody will ever know.
I'll never-
Tim.
That's a great
excuse me,
line.
Tim happened, if he's even still alive, he happened to be one of those people that would play a Dachau victim. He's that skinny. So
I can't get away with that one.
Starving skeleton look.
No, you heard him. He just smelled dinner.
I can't miss that.
All right.
I'm a Water World extra. I'm gonna put that on my business card.
All right, everybody.
There you go.
Later.
See ya.
Good to see everybody.
All right, see you guys later.
Take care.
I want to find the timestamp of when Tim shows up, and so we can all go in and check it out.
Oh.
All right. Bye, everybody.
See you,
Bye.
Bill.